Oda waited 25 years to bring us to Elbaf, not as a detour, not as a side arc, as the answer to questions he planted in Drum Island, in Little Garden, in Ohara. Questions about giants, about a race that existed before the world government, about a culture that remembers things the rest of the world was made to forget. The man chained to Yggdrasil at the center of that island is not a background character. He is the reason Oda made us wait. Chapter 1130. Loki, the cursed prince of Elbaf, is bound to the world tree with chains his own people put there. Not an enemy, not an outsider, his own king, his own nation. His own blood decided he was too dangerous to walk free. That single image, a prince chained by his own inheritance, is the emotional thesis of the entire Elbaf arc. Loki did not choose the burden he carries. He was born into it, condemned before he could prove what kind of man he intended to be. To understand why that matters, you have to understand why Elbaf was delayed for 25 years. Oda introduced giant culture in Little Garden, chapter 117, with Dory and Brogy fighting a duel they had long since forgotten the reason for. Two giants locked in a 100-year war over a broken promise, unable to stop because their honor demanded they continue. That is not a throwaway gag. That is Oda showing you exactly how giant culture works. Honor so absolute it becomes a prison. A code so rigid it can trap you for a century in something that stopped making sense long ago. Loki, is that dynamic taken to its ultimate conclusion? He did not break the rules of Elbaf casually. He broke the most sacred one, and the giant code gave his people no choice but to chain him to the oldest tree in the world and call him cursed for the rest of his life. What did he do? Oda has not confirmed the specifics. What the manga shows is that Elbaf calls the crime unforgivable, and that it involved a devil fruit. Devil fruits are treated as unnatural by giant culture, an affront to the purity of their physical strength. For a prince of Elbaf to seek that power, to reach for something his entire civilization condemns, tells you that Loki was not acting out of arrogance. He was desperate. The question Oda is building toward is not what Loki did. It is why and whether the thing he was reaching for was worth the price his people made him pay. That question connects directly to the Void Century. In the Ohara flashback, chapter 392, giants appear among the scholars who understood the ancient history. Elbaf was not a neutral party in the events the world government erased. The giant race was there. They had allies in the ancient kingdom. They chose a side. And then at some point in those 800 years, that memory was buried, not forgotten, buried. The giants of Elbaf still practice a culture that carries the shape of something ancient inside it. The world tree, the code of honor, the reverence for strength. These are not random traditions. They are the last surviving architecture of a civilization the world government could not completely destroy. Loki is the heir to all of that. His relationship to Joy Boy and Nika is the piece Oda has not yet revealed, but the shape of it is already visible in the structure. Joy Boy made a promise he could not keep. Loki made a choice his people could not forgive. Both of them carry a weight that was not supposed to fall on a single person. Both of them represent something their civilization was not ready to receive. If the ancient kingdom and Elbaf were allies, then Joy Boy's promise almost certainly involved the giant race. A promise that large, a failure that catastrophic, would have consequences that echo for 800 years. Loki, chained to Yggdrasil, may be those consequences made visible. Not a villain, not even a warning, a living monument to a debt that has never been paid. This is why Oda invested 25 years of narrative weight in getting to Elbaf. It is not the strongest island, it is the one that remembers. Every other civilization in One Piece has been shaped by 800 years of world government history, their culture, their knowledge, their understanding of the past, all filtered through an institution that rewrote everything. The giants of Elbaf kept their own record, their code of honor, their oral history, their world tree at the center of everything. These are the artifacts of a civilization that refused to let the Void Century become void. And Loki, cursed, chained, condemned, is the one who tried to act on what that history required. He is not the most powerful character in the final saga. He is the most burdened. Born into a lineage that carries the weight of an ancient promise, condemned for reaching toward the power he believed could fulfill it, chained to the world tree while the rest of the world finally catches up to what he already understood. When Luffy reaches him, and Luffy will reach him, the question will not be whether to free Loki. It will be whether the world is finally ready for what Loki was trying to do. Is Loki a villain who broke his people's most sacred law? Or a prince who saw what was coming and made the only choice that gave the world a chance? Drop your read in the comments. The full Joy Boy and Ancient Kingdom connection drops next.